Alright, this is a full narrated flight of my Skyhunter. When I broke my previous record of 4 miles, this flight here, I got to 5 miles. So here's the flight right here. Alright, I take off. And I'm not using 2D hold or anything, or any kind of takeoff assist or anything like that. Just taking off flying with the sticks. And right up in here I hit 2D hold just to help out, so I could look at some stuff on my ground station, make sure my antenna tracker is tracking correctly in the sky, which it normally is. Sometimes you just off a few degrees, but I want to check it. So now come on around. And make sure I'm trying to stay away from this part of this area over here where kids are playing baseball and everything, so I'll come on back this way. And one of the first things I always do once I get everything's pretty much flying pretty level and everything, as I test my return to home. Some people don't do that, but I always do that just to make sure my failsafe is working. So I flip my switch right up in here, as you can see. And the Skyhunter starts turning back around, and notice my altitude is starting to climb back up. But before it actually reaches its set altitude, I pretty much disengage, return to home. And then I start heading to pretty much in like a northeast kind of direction, because that's where the winds were headed that day coming from. But the winds were variable, but that was the main direction as far as the winds. So I'm starting to head on that direction. And a couple guys we're flying with, one, they're like, yeah, keep on going, let's see what happens today. We got another guy that's always out there. He has a pair of high-powered field glasses or binoculars. Those things are real powerful, but he's always scanning the skies and everything. And notice at the top right-hand part of the screen, it was a hawk that was flying around real close. Not sure if you see him again, but he's always was flying around trying to, I don't know if he's trying to attack our planes or what, but had to dodge him a little bit. As I start to head out, I'm thinking to myself, don't climb to a crazy altitude right away. Let's see how far I can get, as far as like right around 500 or so feet, or 480 feet. Let's see how far I can get before I reach the Fresnel zone, before my video starts to degrade and I start losing signal. So you can see my altitude, which is the middle part of the screen, right hand side of my screen, but middle section. You can see the numbers like 490, 492, 493. That's my altitude. So I pretty much reach right about 490, close to 500 feet, and I pretty much just let it sit right there at that altitude, and the Vector will pretty much hold that altitude for you. If you're on a 2D hold position, it will pretty much hold your altitude, and it will pretty much hold your compass heading. And you might have the plane bounce around a little bit as the winds and everything, but it pretty much will keep you on track. If you notice, right above the middle part of the screen, towards the bottom, you see like a red house. That house is where my home position is. So as I'm flying away, I try to keep the house pretty much in a straight line behind me like that. Then I know home is directly behind me. Plus, you also could use your compass heading, which is the top part of your screen, the degrees and everything, like 180, 170, 180, pretty much at the top. You can see that. Plus, right above that, you have a red arrow that's pointing backwards. That's where home is. Now, 1 mile out, as you can see, the middle part of the screen at the bottom, which is 1.0 mi, that's 1 mile, still at 500 feet. My video still looks pretty good. On previous locations where I fly, pretty much in 1 mile away, I have to gain some altitude because we have a lot of RF traffic out there. There's a lot of interference, a bunch of cell towers and subdivisions close by, so you got to gain some altitude. But at this particular location, as you can see, is not really much around. There's a bunch of farmland and just rural area. And that pretty much helps as far as keeping a low altitude and not really have to gain a lot just to keep your video clear. But as you notice, as I get pretty much 1.5 miles or so, my video picture is starting to just degrade a little bit. I can see a little bit of oscillation pulsing through the video. So right around there, I pretty much said, I might have to gain a little bit more altitude. And you can see the middle right hand part of my screen, I'm gaining 520, 530, 540. And also at the bottom right of the screen, you see like a graph scale. And if you see the line going up and down on your graph, that means, usually if the line goes up, that means I'm gaining altitude. And wherever I hold, that line will stay straight. If I lose altitude, the line will start changing to a reddish orange color, and it's below the scale, like on your XY on the chart and everything. So pretty much right at 2 miles now, 1.9 miles out. Video's degrading a little bit. Yeah, 2 miles right now. And start to pulsate a little bit. You see my house position is starting to blow away a little bit to the side. That's because of winds, but you see the vector is bringing it pretty much right back to that last position. And now I'm gaining a little more altitude, 530, 40 or so feet. And I noticed right at the 3 mile mark my video really degrades because I must be in that Fresnel zone where I need more altitude, and you'll see that in this video also. When I approach 3 miles, the video gets very bad. But I didn't panic, I stayed in it, and I just gained some altitude and everything cleared up. See, I'm gaining altitude right now, 580, 590, about 600 feet, 606 feet. 2.5 miles now. The video's starting to, you can see it starting to change a little bit. Still about 600 feet, a little over 2.5 miles away. Alright, there's a video pretty much at the Fresnel zone where your video, you need to gain altitude to keep that line of sight good on your video reception. And here we go, it's starting to really break down. As you notice, I'm gaining altitude, but before I reach my altitude, the video pretty much gets nasty. And here we go. So up in here, I pretty much let the vector keep my compass heading. I just pull back on the stick to gain altitude. And as I reach a higher altitude, pretty much around 1,000 feet or so, the video comes back in. As you can see, I'm 3 miles out. Altitude, I'm still climbing, 780, pretty much 790, 800 feet, 830, 840, 900 feet, and approaching 1,000 feet right now. From the right-hand middle section of the screen, you can see the altitude position, altitude numbers rise. Now I'm at 1,000 feet. And video is looking a lot better now. Approaching 3.5 miles away, just holding at 1,040 feet. And you notice at the bottom right-hand part of the screen, you see AM 53. That's the GPS antenna has a temperature probe built inside of it. You could buy a separate temperature probe, but you could use the built-in one to show them that my ambient temperature is about 53 degrees outside or inside the cabin, because my GPS antenna is located inside of my Skyhunter. So it's about 52 degrees inside the cabin right there. Alright, video signal's degrading a little bit, coming up on 4 miles. So I pull up a little bit on the stick, gain a little bit more altitude. You see the graph, right hand bottom of the screen, going positive. It's showing that I'm gaining altitude. Now I have a 10,000 milliamp battery pack in here. As you notice at the top right hand part of your screen, I'm pulling 12 amps and milliamp hours MAH. Is showing I'm only burned about 1,386 milliamps right now, and 15.47 volts. That's the voltage scale. And the top left hand part of the screen, come over a little bit, you see 8 satellites and R 49 minutes. That means the vector's calculating I pretty much have about 48 minutes remaining on this battery pack if I maintain 10 amps. So if you back up off your amps, your flight time will really increase. And on the middle left hand part of the screen, you see 22. That's my airspeed from the airspeed sensor. At the bottom left hand part of the screen, you see a little man in the letter G and 29, my MH. That is my compass, my GPS antenna calculating my ground speed. So if your airspeed is and ground speed about the same or close enough, you're flying into the wind. If your ground speed is faster than your airspeed, you're being pushed by the wind. About 4.5 miles, and I pretty much have a scary moment happen around right at the 5 mile mark. If you notice, as I approach in my airspeed, which is the middle part of the screen, left hand side, will drop all the way down to almost 5 miles per hour. But my ground speed is still up, so I'm not sure if it was a gust of wind or if I hit an air pocket in the sky where it was no wind for lift and the plane starts to tip. You see 4.8, my airspeed is 14 miles an hour on the left middle part of the screen. And look how the house is moving around at the bottom, middle of the screen. So here we go, 12, 9 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour. As I hit 5 miles, the airspeed decreases rapidly. So I'm not sure, it must be a pocket of air or gust of wind or something, but something weird happened and the plane tips its wings at 5 miles. 4.9 miles out, you're about to see the scary moment happen at 5 miles away, 6 miles an hour. So something's going on right up in here. And there's a wing tip at 6 miles an hour, but the Vector pretty much levels the wings back out. And I'm at 5 miles, and I think, alright, 5 miles is good. I broke my record, let's turn back home. But you can see, video still looks great to be 5 miles away at 1,500 feet in the air. So, which proves that your location where you fly does play a big role as far as video reception and everything like that. My RSSI signal strength is my top left-hand part of the screen. We see 64%. That's the radio strength coming from my transmitter that's controlling the plane. So the Dragon Link, I'm only at 65%. You know, it's pretty good. I'm on low power. I'm not on high power. I've never flown on high power before, even though everything, how that will affect. But only at low power, 64, 65% signal strength. Still 9 satellites, about 40 minutes flight time remaining. As you see now, I'm heading back home. The middle part of your screen at the top where you see the green arrow, that's pointing home, and just below that you see the house. That's pretty much directly on the screen where home is. Once I pan back around, just looking around the scenery, because I never flew from this area before, just looking at all the farmland, open fields. And as I straighten up the camera, you can see where the house is. That's exactly where my home position is. So right now, I just pretty much let the Vector fly the plane back home on 2D hold, where it pretty much holds your compass heading and your altitude, and it just stays right there unless you change, you move your sticks to change anything, then it will remember that last position for you. Still only burn 1900 milliamps for this trip out here. Now, as you notice, the bottom left hand part of the screen, all at the bottom, my ground speed, which is G, 42 miles an hour. So I have a tailwind that's helped pushing me to be right at 40 miles an hour, but my airspeed is only 30 miles an hour, so it means the wind is pushing me back home. So, which is a good thing. You use less power and just use the assistance from the wind to push you back. So now I'm at 4 miles away from home, 3.9. Look at the air temperature, bottom right of the screen, 48 degrees pretty much. Looking around, back of the plane. That's a cool view sometimes. We just turn around and look and still fly straight. And as I get close to home, I said, let's drop some altitude and see how the video signal looks. You know, don't stay at 1,500 feet. Let's drop down a little bit and see how everything works out. Three and a half miles away. Actually getting back pretty quick with this tailwind of 40 miles per hour. Alright, now I'm dropping altitude. You see the middle right hand part of your screen, my altitude is really, the numbers are decreasing, and you see your graph below that. Look how the line changed to red. And up in here I pretty much level out and stay at this altitude. And look around a little bit. I gotta say, the Skyhunter is a nice flying airplane. You know, once you get everything set up on it, and it pretty much flies itself. As far as my Vector, I've never changed any settings in here, except for the only thing I changed was my return home altitudes and the airspeed that the plane needs to fly at. And that's when I initially set everything up. As far as my other settings and parameters for gains and everything, I've never changed anything on this plane. And some people say the Vector is too much to set up, but it's really not. I mean, it's once you plug up your USB and it's on your screen, it's self-explanatory, so easy. It's just you have a lot of options if you want to use those options. But I didn't use a lot of those options. I keep everything basic. And I have 2 return home altitudes. So if I'm 1 mile or more away from home, the plane will automatically come down. I think it's 2,000 feet, so you can keep video signal. But once you get within 1 mile, closer than 1 mile to home, the plane will drop down to about 400 feet. So you can still see video. So that's just in case if you lose your radio or something crazy happens, your transmitter dies on your radio. When the plane hits failsafe and comes back home, it will maintain that high altitude so you can still see your video. And then as you get closer to home, it will drop down a little bit lower. You can set any kind of altitude that you want. The Vector even has a feature where it will auto land, but they say you make sure you have plenty of space, because once it starts its landing, you pretty much got to get out the way it's going to land. Alright, a little under 2.5 miles away. I'm still just pulling 12 amps. Voltage looks good, just 1,100 feet up. Ground speed is still faster than my airspeed, so that's a good thing. We got a nice tailwind. Now still, if you look at from on the screen, you still can't see the area where I flew from home, but you just know, trust your gear and keep heading in that direction. Dropping altitude again, you see the right hand side of the screen. My chart is in the red, which means I'm losing altitude, and dropping below 1,000 feet, as you can see by the numbers, 900 feet. I'm not sure, I can't remember how low I actually went, but you can see up in here, I'm 1.8 miles out. I think I might have went down to like 500 feet or so. Could be wrong. Looks like I stayed around 890 feet until I get a little bit closer. Now I'm dropping more altitude as I'm 1.3 miles away, coming below 800 feet. Now I'm not using any ailerons. The Vector is keeping the wings level for me. I'm just pushing the elevator stick forward just to lose some altitude, and the Vector is doing the rest as far as trying to maintain a level flight. Alright, pretty much 1 mile out, still dropping altitude, under 5,000 feet away from home, still dropping altitude. Got a little air turbulence sometimes when you get lower, depends on thermals or anything, but winds could bounce the plane around a little bit, which sometimes can make you panic. Sometimes if you don't know what's going on, everything starts to get bumpy. But as long as you keep your airspeed up, you should be able to maintain, lift on those wings and everything. Right now I can see exactly where I'm located on the field. I'm pretty much in the home stretch right now. Pretty much getting ready to hit under 2,000 feet away from home. Throttle up a little bit, drop a little bit more altitude. And this time I'm all, the adrenaline high that you get when you go long range is something I can't really explain, but most guys that go long range have the same feeling, like a relief that you're just about at home. I can see our cars on the field. Back off on the throttle a little bit, 6 amps, dropping altitude. Just going to bank to the left a little bit, straighten up, bank a little bit more, and then I'll kill my throttle and glide on down. Alright, throttle's off. Let her glide down. Pull up on the elevator a little bit. Keep the wings level. And slide on in. And that's it for the 5-mile flight.